What if the way you see yourself is the only thing holding you back? Not your skills, not your background, not your circumstances, but the quiet voice inside your mind that says, "You're not enough." Think about it. How many times have you doubted yourself before even trying? How many opportunities have you let pass, not because you couldn't do it, but because you believed you couldn't? This is the power of self-esteem. It is invisible, yet it shapes everything: how you speak, how you act, how you handle failure, and how you allow others to treat you. Some people walk into a room and own their presence. Others shrink even when they have just as much potential. The difference is not talent, it is belief. And the truth is, self-esteem is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It is shaped by your experiences, your thoughts, and the stories you tell yourself every day. But here's the most important part. If it was built, it can be rebuilt. In this audiobook, you are going to uncover the hidden patterns that have been shaping your self-worth. You will learn how to break free from doubt, silence your inner critic, and build a version of yourself that is confident, resilient, and grounded. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. Because the moment you start seeing your true worth, everything in your life begins to change. So take a deep breath, clear your mind, and begin this journey, not to become someone else, but to finally become who you were meant to be. Self-esteem, an audiobook journey in 100 chapters. Chapter 1. What is self-esteem? Imagine waking up in the morning and looking at yourself in the mirror. Before anything else happens, before the world speaks to you, a quiet voice inside already has something to say. That voice, that feeling, is your self-esteem. Self-esteem is not just confidence. It is the foundation of how you see your worth as a person. It influences the way you walk into a room, how you respond to failure, and even how you allow others to treat you. Think about a student who receives a low grade. One student might think, "I'm not smart enough," and give up. Another might think, "I didn't prepare well this time, but I can improve." The difference between them is not intelligence, it is self-esteem. In real life, you may have experienced moments where you doubted yourself, hesitating to speak, afraid to try, or comparing yourself to others. These are signs that your self-esteem is being challenged. Here is the truth. Self-esteem is not something you are born with fully formed. It is built. It is shaped. And most importantly, it can be strengthened. As you continue this journey, remember this: the way you see yourself is not fixed. It is something you can change, one thought, one action, and one decision at a time. Chapter 2. The origins of self-worth. Think back to your earliest memories. Perhaps a teacher praised you, or maybe someone criticized you. These moments may seem small, but they quietly shaped how you see yourself today. Self-worth often begins in childhood. A child who is encouraged learns to believe, "I am capable." A child who is constantly criticized may grow up thinking, "I am not enough." Consider two children learning to ride a bicycle. One falls and their parent says, "That's okay, try again." The other falls and hears, "Why can't you do it right?" Over time, these words become internal beliefs. As an adult, you may still carry these early messages. Maybe you hesitate because you fear making mistakes. Maybe you seek approval because it once felt necessary. But here is what matters. Those early influences are not permanent truths. They are learned patterns. You are not your past experiences. You are the one who interprets them. And today, you can begin to rewrite that interpretation. Chapter 3. Internal versus external validation. Imagine posting something online and waiting for likes or comments. For a moment, your mood depends on how others respond. This is external validation. External validation feels good, but it is unstable. When it disappears, so does your confidence. Now imagine completing a task and feeling proud even if no one notices. That is internal validation. It is quiet but powerful. A real-life example: someone at work does a great job but receives no recognition. If they rely only on external praise, they may feel discouraged. But if they recognize their own effort, their confidence remains intact. Building self-esteem means shifting from needing approval to creating your own sense of worth. Ask yourself, if no one clapped for you, would you still be proud? That is where true confidence begins. Chapter 4: The Inner Voice. There is a voice in your mind that never stops speaking. Sometimes it encourages you, other times it criticizes you. This inner voice can say things like, "You're not good enough," or "You always mess things up." Over time, these thoughts feel like facts, but they are not. Imagine a friend speaking to you the way your inner voice does. Would you accept it? Probably not. For example, someone makes a small mistake at work and thinks, "I'm terrible at this." That thought is not accurate, it is exaggerated. The goal is not to silence your inner voice, but to transform it. Replace harsh criticism with balanced truth. Instead of saying, "I failed," try, "I made a mistake and I can learn from it." The way you speak to yourself shapes the way you live your life. Chapter 5: Awareness of Thoughts. Most thoughts happen automatically. You don't choose them, they appear. But here is something important: just because you think something does not mean it is true. Imagine walking into a room and thinking, "Everyone is judging me." That thought creates anxiety, but is it reality, or is it an assumption? A real-life example: someone sends a message and doesn't get a reply. They immediately think, "They don't like me." In truth, the other person may simply be busy. Awareness means stepping back and observing your thoughts, instead of believing them instantly. When you notice a negative thought, pause and ask, "Is this true? Or is this just a story I'm telling myself?" This simple awareness creates space, and in that space, change begins. Chapter 6: Rewriting Beliefs. Think about a belief you've carried for years, perhaps something like, "I'm not good enough," or "I always fail." These beliefs often feel permanent, but they are not facts. They are stories repeated so often that they feel true. Imagine someone who struggled in school growing up. Over time, they begin to believe they are not intelligent. Years later, even in a completely different environment, that belief still controls their actions. They hesitate to try new things, not because they lack ability, but because they believe they do. Rewriting beliefs begins with questioning them. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it based on one moment or many? And most importantly, is it still true today? You can replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," begin saying, "I am learning and improving." At first, it may feel unnatural, but repetition reshapes your thinking. Change the belief and you change the direction of your life. Chapter 7: The Role of Comparison. It is easy to look at others and feel like you are falling behind. You see someone more successful, more confident, or more accomplished, and suddenly your own progress feels small. But comparison is a distorted lens. It only shows part of the picture. Imagine comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You ignore their struggles, their failures, and their time spent growing. You only see the result. A real-life example: someone scrolls through social media and sees a successful entrepreneur. They think, "I'll never reach that level." What they don't see are the years of effort behind that success. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Growth is personal. Your journey is not meant to look like anyone else's. Chapter 8: Social Media Influence. Social media often shows highlight reels, not reality. Perfect photos, achievements, and curated lifestyles can create the illusion that everyone else is doing better than you. But what you see is carefully selected. Imagine someone posting a happy photo, while behind the scenes they are struggling. Social media does not show the full story. If you constantly consume this content, you may begin to feel inadequate. You may question your own life, your progress, or your worth. The lesson is not to avoid social media completely, but to use it consciously. Remember that what you see is not the whole truth. Your life does not need to look perfect to be meaningful. Chapter 9: Accepting Imperfection. Perfection is an illusion. No matter how hard you try, there will always be something that feels incomplete. Imagine someone who delays starting a project because they want everything to be perfect. Days turn into weeks and nothing gets done. Perfection becomes a barrier. Accepting imperfection allows you to move forward. It allows you to learn, to grow, and to improve over time. A real-life example: an artist shares their work even though it is not perfect. Over time, they improve because they take action. Progress is always more valuable than perfection. Chapter 10. Self-compassion. When you make a mistake, how do you respond? Do you criticize yourself or do you show understanding? Self-compassion means treating yourself the way you would treat a close friend. Imagine a friend telling you they failed. You would not insult them, you would encourage them. You would remind them that mistakes are part of growth. You deserve that same kindness. Being compassionate with yourself does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means acknowledging your humanity. You are allowed to be imperfect and still worthy. Chapter 11. The Power of Habits. Your life is shaped by what you do daily, not occasionally. Imagine waking up every day and choosing small positive action, getting up on time, completing tasks, taking care of yourself. Over time, these actions build confidence. A real-life example: someone commits to exercising for 10 minutes a day. It seems small, but over time it builds discipline and self-trust. Habits create identity. When you act consistently, you begin to see yourself differently. You become someone who follows through. Chapter 12. Body image and identity. How you see your body affects how you see yourself. Imagine looking in the mirror and focusing only on flaws. Over time, this creates dissatisfaction and insecurity. But your body is not just something to be judged, it is something that supports your life. A real-life example: someone begins to focus on what their body can do rather than how it looks. They appreciate strength, movement, and health. This shift builds respect instead of criticism. Chapter 13. Gratitude Practice. Gratitude changes your focus. Instead of constantly noticing what is missing, you begin to notice what is present. Imagine ending your day by thinking of 3 things you are grateful for. Over time, this simple practice shifts your mindset. A real-life example: someone struggling with stress begins writing down small positives each day. Gradually, their perspective becomes more balanced. Gratitude builds a sense of abundance. Chapter 14. Affirmations. Affirmations are repeated statements that shape your thinking. At first, they may feel unnatural, but with repetition, they begin to influence your beliefs. Imagine someone saying, "I am capable," every day. Over time, their actions begin to align with that belief. The key is consistency. Affirmations are not magic, they are practice. Chapter 15. Setting boundaries. Boundaries define how others treat you. Imagine always saying yes, even when you are exhausted. Over time, you feel drained and undervalued. Setting boundaries means recognizing your limits and respecting them. A real-life example: someone begins to say no to extra work when they are overwhelmed. They feel more in control and respected. Boundaries protect your energy. Chapter 16. Saying no. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, especially if you fear disappointing others. But every time you say yes to something you don't want, you say no to yourself. Imagine agreeing to plans you don't enjoy. Over time, resentment builds. Learning to say no is an act of self-respect. Chapter 17. Fear of rejection. Rejection is part of life. It happens in relationships, careers, and opportunities. Imagine not applying for a job because you fear rejection. The opportunity is lost before it even begins. Rejection does not define your worth. It reflects circumstances, timing, or fit. Each rejection is a step toward the right opportunity. Chapter 18. Failure as feedback. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Imagine learning a new skill. You make mistakes, adjust, and improve. A real-life example: an entrepreneur fails in their first business but learns valuable lessons for the next one. Failure teaches what success cannot. Chapter 19. Growth Mindset. Imagine approaching life with the belief that you can improve. A growth mindset is the understanding that skills, intelligence, and confidence are not fixed, they can be developed. Picture someone learning a new skill like speaking in public. At first, they struggle. Their voice shakes, their thoughts scatter. But instead of concluding, "I'm not good at this," they say, "I'm not good at this yet." That one word changes everything. A real-life scenario: a student fails an exam. One response is to give up. Another is to review mistakes, seek help, and try again. Over time, the second approach builds competence and confidence. The lesson is simple: treat challenges as training, not threats. Each attempt is a step forward. Chapter 20, Fixed Mindset. A fixed mindset tells you that your abilities are set in stone. It whispers, "This is who you are and you cannot change." Imagine avoiding opportunities because you fear looking incapable. You don't apply, you don't try, and you don't grow. In real life, someone might say, "I'm just not a creative person," and never explore creativity again. The belief becomes a barrier. Recognize this pattern. When you hear "I can't," add "yet." Replace limitation with possibility. Chapter 21, Self-Discipline. Discipline is the quiet promise you keep to yourself. Imagine setting a small goal, waking up 15 minutes earlier, finishing one task daily. At first, it feels difficult, but each time you follow through, you build trust in yourself. A real-life example: someone commits to studying 1 hour a day. Weeks later, their confidence rises, not because of motivation, but because of consistency. Discipline builds identity. You become someone who shows up. Chapter 22, The Role of Environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. Imagine trying to focus in a chaotic, negative space versus a calm, supportive one. The difference is immediate. In real life, a person who surrounds themselves with motivated peers often adopts similar habits. Curate your environment, physical and social, to support who you want to become. Chapter 23, Support Systems. No one grows alone. Imagine having even one person who believes in you. That support can carry you through doubt. A real-life example: a mentor who offers guidance, a friend who listens, a family member who encourages. Choose relationships that uplift you and be that support for others. Chapter 24, Toxic Relationships. Some relationships slowly diminish your sense of self. Imagine being around someone who constantly criticizes or dismisses you. Over time, your confidence erodes. Recognizing toxicity is the first step. Creating distance is the next. Protecting your self-esteem sometimes means letting go. Chapter 25, Emotional Awareness. Emotions are signals, not enemies. Imagine feeling anger and pausing before reacting. That pause gives you power. In real life, someone who understands their emotions can respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. Awareness turns reaction into choice. Chapter 26, Managing Stress. Stress is part of life, but it does not have to control you. Imagine organizing your tasks, taking breaks, and prioritizing rest. Your mind becomes clearer. A real-life example: someone overwhelmed at work begins planning their day and setting limits, reducing stress. Balance creates stability. Chapter 27, Self-Care. Self-care is a statement: "I matter." Imagine taking time to rest without guilt. That rest restores your energy and clarity. Self-care can be simple: sleep, quiet time, a walk. Caring for yourself strengthens your foundation. Chapter 28, Physical Health. Your body and mind are connected. Imagine how you feel after good sleep versus exhaustion. Your confidence shifts. A real-life example: regular exercise improves mood and self-image. Take care of your body, it supports your confidence. Chapter 29, Personal Values. Values are your internal compass. Imagine making decisions aligned with honesty, growth, or kindness. You feel grounded. When you live by your values, your self-esteem becomes stable. Chapter 30, Purpose and Meaning. Purpose gives direction to your life. Imagine waking up with a reason to act. Even small goals create momentum. Purpose does not have to be grand, it just needs to be meaningful to you. Chapter 31, Confidence versus Arrogance. Confidence is grounded in self-awareness, while arrogance is often a mask for insecurity. Picture two people entering a room. One is calm, listens, and speaks with clarity. The other dominates conversations and seeks validation. The difference is not ability, it is inner security. In real life, confident people do not need to prove themselves constantly. They trust their abilities and remain open to learning. Arrogance, on the other hand, resists feedback. The lesson: build quiet confidence. Let your actions speak louder than your need for approval. Chapter 32, Authenticity. Authenticity means living in alignment with who you truly are. Imagine no longer adjusting your personality just to be accepted. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but over time, it brings freedom. A real-life scenario: someone stops pretending to agree with everything and begins expressing their real thoughts. They may lose some approval, but they gain self-respect. Authenticity builds confidence because it removes the pressure of pretending. Chapter 33: Courage to be seen. Being seen means allowing others to witness your real self, your ideas, your voice, your presence. Imagine raising your hand in a meeting even if your voice shakes. That single action builds confidence. Growth happens when you stop hiding. Chapter 34: Vulnerability. Vulnerability is the willingness to be open, even when there is risk. Imagine sharing a struggle with someone you trust. Instead of judgment, you receive understanding. This creates connection and reminds you that you are not alone. Chapter 35: Self-acceptance. Self-acceptance means embracing both your strengths and flaws. Imagine no longer fighting parts of yourself. Instead, you acknowledge them and work with them. Acceptance is not giving up, it is starting from truth. Chapter 36: Letting go of the past. Past can feel like a constant companion, especially when it carries regret, embarrassment, or pain. But holding onto it does not change what happened, it only limits what can happen next. Imagine replaying a mistake over and over in your mind. Each time it reinforces the belief that you are defined by that moment. In reality, that moment is only one part of your story. A practical approach is to reframe the past. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What did this teach me?" This shift turns pain into progress. Letting go does not mean forgetting, it means choosing not to let the past control your present. Chapter 37: Forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful acts of self-liberation. It is not about excusing behavior, but about releasing the emotional weight attached to it. Imagine carrying resentment for years. It drains your energy without changing the situation. Forgiveness allows you to reclaim that energy. A real-life example: someone who forgives themselves for a past failure often regains confidence and motivation. Forgiveness creates space for growth and peace. Chapter 38: Identity formation. Your identity is not something you discover, it is something you build. Every decision you make contributes to who you are becoming. Imagine choosing actions that align with your desired identity. Over time, those actions reinforce that identity. For example, someone who wants to become disciplined starts with small, consistent habits. Eventually, they no longer try to be disciplined, they are disciplined. Identity is shaped through repetition. Chapter 39: Personal responsibility. Taking responsibility is not about blame, it is about ownership. When you take responsibility, you shift from feeling powerless to being in control. Instead of saying, "This happened to me," you begin asking, "What can I do about it?" This mindset empowers change. Chapter 40: Decision-making. Every decision you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Small decisions, what you do with your time, how you respond to challenges, shape your confidence. The more you trust your decisions, the stronger your self-esteem becomes. Chapter 41: Risk-taking. Risk is uncomfortable, but it is necessary for growth. Imagine staying in a safe routine forever. Nothing changes. Now imagine taking a chance, applying, speaking up, trying something new. Even if the outcome is uncertain, the experience builds courage. Chapter 42: Overcoming fear. Fear often appears larger than it truly is. The key is gradual exposure. Instead of avoiding fear, face it in small steps. For example, if you fear speaking, start by sharing ideas in small groups. Over time, your confidence grows. Chapter 43: The comfort zone. The comfort zone feels safe, but limits potential. Growth begins when you stretch beyond it, not all at once, but step by step. Each small expansion builds confidence. Chapter 44: Building skills. Confidence is often a result of competence. When you invest time in learning and practicing, your abilities improve, and so does your belief in yourself. Skill building is one of the most reliable ways to strengthen self-esteem. Chapter 45. Celebrating Progress. Progress is often overlooked because it feels small, but small progress compounds over time. Recognizing it reinforces motivation. Celebrate effort, not just outcomes. Chapter 46. Self-reflection. At the end of a long day, most people simply move on to the next one without pausing to think. But growth does not come from experience alone. It comes from understanding that experience. Self-reflection is the habit of looking back with intention. Imagine sitting quietly and asking yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I struggle? What can I improve tomorrow? A real-life scenario. Someone has a difficult conversation at work. Instead of ignoring it, they reflect. They realize they reacted emotionally instead of listening. The next time they respond differently and improve. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without it, the same mistakes repeat. With it, every day becomes a lesson. Chapter 47. Journaling. Your thoughts can feel overwhelming when they stay in your head. Journaling gives them structure. Imagine writing freely without judgment. At first, it may feel unclear, but over time, patterns begin to appear. You start to notice recurring fears, goals, and desires. A real-life example, someone dealing with stress begins writing every night. After weeks, they recognize triggers and begin managing them better. Journaling is not about perfect writing, it is about honest expression. It is a conversation with yourself. Chapter 48. Mindfulness. Most people live either in the past or the future. Mindfulness brings you back to the present. Imagine eating a meal while fully paying attention to it, instead of scrolling on your phone. Suddenly, everything feels clearer and calmer. In real life, mindfulness reduces overthinking. When you focus on the present moment, you stop creating unnecessary anxiety about things that have not happened. The lesson is simple. The present moment is where your life actually exists. Chapter 49. Meditation. Meditation is training for your mind. Imagine sitting quietly, observing your thoughts as they come and go. At first, your mind feels busy, but with practice, you begin to create space between you and your thoughts. A real-life scenario. Someone who meditates regularly becomes less reactive. Instead of immediately responding to stress, they pause and choose their response. Meditation builds calm, clarity, and control. Chapter 50. Breathing techniques. Your breath is one of the fastest ways to change your emotional state. Imagine feeling anxious. Your breathing becomes fast and shallow. Now imagine slowing it down, deep, steady breaths. Your body begins to relax. A simple technique. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, repeat. Notice the difference. Your breath is always available. It is a tool you can use anytime. Chapter 51. Resilience. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulty. It is about recovering from it. Imagine facing a setback. Instead of staying down, you stand up again. Each time you do this, you become stronger. A real-life example. Someone loses a job but uses the experience to develop new skills and find a better opportunity. Resilience is built, not born. Chapter 52. Adaptability. Change is constant. Adaptability allows you to navigate it. Imagine plans suddenly shifting. Instead of resisting, you adjust. In real life, adaptable people remain steady even in uncertainty. They see change as something to work with, not fight against. Flexibility builds confidence. Chapter 53. Persistence. Persistence is continuing when progress feels slow. Imagine working toward a goal with no immediate results. Many people quit at this stage, but persistence pushes you forward. A real-life scenario. An athlete trains for months before seeing improvement. That consistency leads to success. Persistence turns effort into achievement. Chapter 54. Self-trust. Self-trust is built through action. Imagine telling yourself you will do something and actually doing it. Each time you reinforce trust. A real-life example. Someone commits to waking up early. After weeks of consistency, they begin to rely on themselves. Trust is earned even with yourself. Chapter 55. Integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Imagine making a choice that aligns with your values even if it is difficult. This builds self-respect, and self-respect strengthens self-esteem. Chapter 56. Communication Skills. Communication shapes how others understand you. Imagine expressing your thoughts clearly and calmly. People respond with respect. A real-life scenario. Someone improves their communication at work and gains more opportunities because they are understood. Clear expression builds confidence. Chapter 57. Listening Skills. Listening is more than hearing, it is understanding. Imagine giving someone your full attention. They feel valued and the connection deepens. Strong listening improves relationships and self-awareness. Chapter 58. Assertiveness. Assertiveness is the balance between passivity and aggression. Imagine expressing your needs clearly without disrespecting others. This builds confidence and earns respect. Chapter 59. Handling Criticism. Criticism can either help you grow or bring you down. It depends on how you handle it. Imagine receiving feedback. Instead of reacting emotionally, you evaluate it. Take what is useful. Let go of what is not. Chapter 60. Ignoring Negativity. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Imagine focusing only on what helps you grow. This protects your mental energy and self-esteem. Chapter 61. Confidence in Action. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you create. Imagine waiting until you feel ready before taking action. You may wait forever. But when you act first, even with uncertainty, confidence begins to grow. A real-life example, someone nervous about starting a project decides to begin anyway. As they make progress, their confidence naturally increases. Action is the foundation of confidence. Chapter 62. Small Wins. Big success is built on small victories. Imagine completing one small task each day. At first, it feels insignificant, but over time, these small wins build momentum. A real-life scenario. Someone commits to reading just a few pages daily. Months later, they have completed multiple books and feel more capable. Never underestimate small progress. It compounds into big results. Chapter 63. Visualization. Your mind responds strongly to imagery. Imagine clearly picturing yourself succeeding, speaking confidently, achieving a goal, or overcoming a challenge. Athletes often use visualization to prepare for performance. By mentally rehearsing success, they increase their chances of achieving it. Visualization does not replace action, but it strengthens belief and readiness. Chapter 64. Goal Setting. Goals give your life direction. Imagine trying to reach a destination without knowing where you are going. You would feel lost. Goals provide clarity. A practical approach is to break large goals into smaller steps. This makes progress manageable and less overwhelming. Clear goals create focus, and focus builds confidence. Chapter 65. Time Management. Time is one of your most valuable resources. Imagine having a clear plan for your day versus reacting to everything as it comes. Structure reduces stress. A real-life example. Someone who organizes their schedule finds more time for important tasks and less time wasted on distractions. Managing your time effectively gives you a sense of control over your life. Chapter 66. Productivity. Productivity is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Imagine completing meaningful tasks each day. This creates a sense of accomplishment and reinforces your capability. A real-life scenario. Someone focuses on their priorities instead of multitasking. They achieve more and feel more confident. Productivity builds self-belief through consistent results. Chapter 67. Overcoming Procrastination. Procrastination often comes from fear of failure, fear of imperfection, or feeling overwhelmed. Imagine staring at a task and delaying it repeatedly. The longer you wait, the heavier it feels. The solution is simple: start small. Even one step reduces resistance. A real-life example, someone struggling to begin a project starts with just 5 minutes of work. That small step leads to continued progress. Action breaks procrastination. Chapter 68. Discipline over Motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline remains steady. Imagine relying only on motivation. You act when you feel like it. Progress becomes inconsistent. Now imagine building discipline, acting regardless of how you feel. Progress becomes reliable. Discipline creates long-term success because it does not depend on temporary emotions. Chapter 69. Learning from others. Other people's experiences can be valuable teachers. Imagine observing someone who has achieved what you want. Instead of comparing yourself, you study their habits and mindset. A real-life example: reading books, listening to mentors, or learning from mistakes, both yours and others. Learning from others accelerates growth. Chapter 70. Independence. Independence is the ability to rely on yourself. Imagine making decisions without constantly seeking approval. This builds inner strength. A real-life scenario: someone begins trusting their judgment in small decisions, gradually becoming more confident in larger ones. Independence strengthens self-esteem because it reinforces self-reliance. Chapter 71. Financial confidence. Financial confidence comes from understanding and managing your resources. Imagine knowing where your money goes and making intentional choices. This reduces anxiety and builds stability. A real-life example: someone creates a simple budget and begins saving regularly. Over time, they feel more secure and in control. Financial awareness is a form of self-respect. Chapter 72. Career identity. Your work often shapes how you see yourself. Imagine doing work that aligns with your strengths and values. You feel more fulfilled and confident. Even if your current role is not ideal, finding meaning in your contribution can strengthen your self-worth. Chapter 73. Passion versus pressure. There is a difference between doing something because you love it and doing it because you feel forced. Imagine pursuing a path based on others' expectations. It may lead to stress and dissatisfaction. Now imagine following what genuinely interests you. Fulfillment increases. Choose direction based on meaning, not pressure. Chapter 74. Creativity. Creativity is a form of self-expression. Imagine allowing yourself to create without worrying about judgment. This freedom builds confidence. A real-life example: writing, drawing, or building something simply because you enjoy it. Creativity strengthens your sense of individuality. Chapter 75. Curiosity. Curiosity keeps your mind open. Imagine approaching life with questions instead of assumptions. You learn more and grow faster. Curiosity transforms challenges into opportunities to discover. Chapter 76. Lifelong learning. Learning does not stop after school, it continues throughout life. Imagine constantly gaining new knowledge and skills. This builds competence and confidence. A real-life scenario: someone who keeps learning adapts better to change and feels more capable. Growth is a lifelong process. Chapter 77. Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage emotions, both yours and others. Imagine staying calm in a stressful situation instead of reacting impulsively. This skill improves relationships and decision-making. Chapter 78. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's perspective. Imagine listening to someone without judgment. You create a deeper connection. Empathy strengthens relationships and social confidence. Chapter 79. Social confidence. Social confidence is built through experience. Imagine engaging in conversations more often, even when it feels uncomfortable at first. With repetition, it becomes natural. Confidence in social situations grows through practice. Chapter 80. Public speaking. Public speaking is one of the most powerful ways to build confidence. Imagine standing in front of others and sharing your ideas clearly. At first, it may feel intimidating, but with practice, your voice becomes stronger, your presence more steady. A real-life example: someone who once feared speaking begins practicing in small groups, eventually becoming comfortable addressing larger audiences. Your voice matters, and learning to use it builds lasting confidence. Chapter 81. Personal Branding. Personal branding is how you present yourself to the world. It is the impression people form based on your actions, communication, and consistency. Imagine two people with similar skills. One presents themselves clearly and confidently, while the other remains unclear and hesitant. Opportunities often follow the one who communicates their value. A practical approach is to be intentional. How do you speak, show up, and deliver? Your brand is built daily through small actions. Chapter 82. Reputation. Reputation is built over time through consistency. Imagine being known as someone reliable. People trust you, and trust creates opportunities. A real-life scenario. Someone who consistently meets commitments becomes the person others depend on. Protect your reputation, it reflects your character. Chapter 83. Self-image. Self-image is the picture you hold of yourself. If you see yourself as capable, you act with confidence. If you see yourself as limited, you hesitate. Begin shaping your self-image intentionally. Focus on strengths and growth. Chapter 84. Body language. Your body communicates before your words do. Imagine standing tall, making eye contact, and moving with purpose. You feel more confident, and others perceive you that way. Body language influences both how others see you and how you feel about yourself. Chapter 85. Voice and tone. Your voice reflects your confidence. Speaking clearly and calmly shows assurance. Rushed or quiet speech can signal doubt. Practice speaking with intention. Your voice carries your presence. Chapter 86. First impressions. First impressions happen quickly, but they can last. Imagine meeting someone for the first time. Within seconds, an impression is formed. Being present, attentive, and genuine creates a strong first connection. Chapter 87. Adapting to feedback. Feedback is a tool for growth. Instead of taking it personally, view it as information. A real-life example. Someone improves their performance by applying feedback rather than resisting it. Growth comes from adjustment. Chapter 88. Letting go of approval. Seeking constant approval can weaken self-esteem. Imagine making decisions based only on others' opinions. You lose connection with yourself. True confidence comes from trusting your own judgment. Chapter 89. Defining success. Success is personal. Imagine chasing someone else's definition of success. You may achieve it but feel empty. Define success based on your values, not external expectations. Chapter 90. Happiness and self-worth. Happiness and self-worth are connected. When you value yourself, you allow yourself to experience joy without guilt. Happiness grows when self-worth is stable. Chapter 91. Inner peace. Inner peace comes from acceptance and clarity. Imagine no longer fighting yourself. Peace allows you to move through life with calm confidence. Chapter 92. Balance in life. Balance prevents burnout. Imagine managing work, rest, and personal time effectively. A balanced life supports long-term well-being. Chapter 93. Personal growth journey. Growth is continuous. There is no final destination, only progress. Each step you take builds the person you are becoming. Chapter 94. Legacy thinking. Think beyond the present moment. Imagine the impact you want to leave behind. This perspective shapes meaningful decisions. Chapter 95. Influence on others. Your confidence affects those around you. Imagine inspiring someone simply by believing in yourself. Confidence spreads. Chapter 96. Teaching self-esteem. Teaching reinforces learning. When you share what you know, you deepen your understanding. Helping others strengthens your own growth. Chapter 97. Daily practices. Consistency maintains self-esteem. Small daily habits, reflection, action, care build lasting confidence. Chapter 98. Long-term vision. A vision keeps you focused. Imagine knowing where you are going. This clarity strengthens commitment. Chapter 99. Reinvention. You can change at any time. Imagine redefining yourself. Growth allows transformation. Chapter 100. Becoming your best self. Becoming your best self is not about perfection. It is about progress. Imagine continuously learning, improving, and accepting yourself. Self-esteem is a lifelong journey. Chapter 101, Self-Respect. Self-respect is the standard you set for how you treat yourself and allow others to treat you. It is built through consistent actions that align with your values. When you keep promises to yourself, your self-respect increases. When you compromise your values, it weakens. In daily life, self-respect shows up in boundaries, discipline, and honesty. Protecting your self-respect strengthens your overall self-esteem. Chapter 102, Clarity of Identity. Clarity of identity means knowing who you are and what you stand for. Without clarity, it is easy to be influenced by others. With clarity, decisions become easier and more confident. Take time to define your beliefs, values, and goals. This internal clarity creates external stability. The more you understand yourself, the less you need external validation. Chapter 103, Emotional Boundaries. Emotional boundaries protect your mental well-being. They help you separate your emotions from others' expectations and behaviors. Without boundaries, you may absorb stress that is not yours. With boundaries, you maintain control over your emotional state. Practicing this allows you to stay balanced even in difficult situations. Strong boundaries lead to stronger self-esteem. Chapter 104, Energy Management. Your energy is limited, and how you use it matters. Focus on activities and people that uplift you rather than drain you. Pay attention to what leaves you feeling exhausted versus energized. Managing your energy is just as important as managing your time. When your energy is directed intentionally, your productivity and confidence improve. Protecting your energy supports long-term growth. Chapter 105, Mental Resilience. Mental resilience is your ability to stay steady under pressure. It allows you to face challenges without losing direction. Developing resilience requires exposure to difficulty and learning from it. Each challenge strengthens your ability to handle the next. Over time, you become less reactive and more composed. This stability builds confidence in your ability to handle life. Chapter 106, Self-Awareness in Action. Self-awareness is not just understanding yourself, it is applying that understanding. When you recognize patterns in your behavior, you can choose to change them. Awareness without action leads to stagnation. Action based on awareness leads to growth. Practice observing yourself and adjusting intentionally. This creates continuous improvement. Chapter 107, Handling Uncertainty. Uncertainty is unavoidable, but it does not have to create fear. Learning to operate without complete clarity builds confidence. Focus on what you can control rather than what you cannot. Small, consistent actions reduce uncertainty over time. Trust that progress can happen even without perfect conditions. Confidence grows when you move forward despite the unknown. Chapter 108, Inner Stability. Inner stability means remaining grounded regardless of external circumstances. It is the ability to stay calm when things change. This comes from self-trust and emotional control. Instead of reacting immediately, you respond with intention. Stability creates confidence because you rely on yourself, not situations. Over time, this becomes a strong foundation. Chapter 109, Self-Leadership. Self-leadership is the ability to guide your own actions and decisions. It requires discipline, clarity, and responsibility. Instead of waiting for direction, you create it. You take ownership of your path. Strong self-leadership leads to independence and confidence. You become the leader of your own life. Chapter 110, Decision Confidence. Confidence in decisions comes from practice. The more decisions you make, the more you trust yourself. Not every decision will be perfect, and that is part of growth. Learn from outcomes and adjust accordingly. Over time, hesitation decreases. Decisiveness strengthens self-esteem. Chapter 111, Emotional Strength. Emotional strength is the ability to handle feelings without being controlled by them. It does not mean suppressing emotions but understanding them. When you process emotions effectively, you respond more clearly. This leads to better decisions and stronger relationships. Emotional strength builds inner confidence. It allows you to stay balanced in any situation. Chapter 112: Long-Term Discipline. Discipline over long periods creates meaningful results. Short bursts of effort are not enough. Consistency is what builds real change. Create routines that support your goals daily. Over time, these routines become habits. Long-term discipline transforms your identity. Chapter 113: Self-Renewal. Self-renewal is the practice of restoring your energy and focus. It includes rest, reflection, and growth. Without renewal, burnout becomes inevitable. Taking time to reset allows you to perform better. It is not a weakness, it is necessary. Renewal supports sustainable confidence. Chapter 114: Perspective Shifting. Perspective shapes how you interpret situations. Changing your perspective can change your experience. Instead of seeing problems, look for opportunities. This shift creates solutions instead of stress. Practicing perspective shifting improves resilience. It helps you stay positive and focused. Chapter 115: Consistency of Character. Character is revealed through consistency. It is not what you do once, but what you do repeatedly. Acting in alignment with your values builds trust in yourself. Others also begin to trust you more. Consistency creates reliability. Reliability strengthens confidence. Chapter 116: Personal Standards. Your standards determine your outcomes. High standards push you to improve, while low standards limit growth. Decide what you will accept and what you will not. Upholding your standards builds discipline and respect. Over time, your results reflect your standards. Strong standards lead to strong self-esteem. Chapter 117: Self-Evolution. Self-evolution is the process of continuous change and improvement. You are not meant to stay the same. Each experience shapes you into a better version of yourself. Embrace change instead of resisting it. Growth requires adaptation. Evolution keeps your confidence dynamic. Chapter 118: Legacy of Growth. Your growth impacts more than just you. It influences the people around you. When you improve, you inspire others to do the same. This creates a ripple effect. Your actions can leave a lasting impact. Growth becomes your legacy. Chapter 119: Mastery of Self. Mastery of self is the ability to understand and control your actions, thoughts, and emotions. It is developed through discipline and awareness. The more you practice, the stronger your control becomes. This mastery leads to confidence and stability. It is a lifelong pursuit. Each step brings deeper self-understanding. Chapter 120: The Ongoing Journey. Self-esteem is not a destination. It is a continuous journey. There will always be new challenges and opportunities to grow. What matters is your commitment to improving. Every step you take builds a stronger version of yourself. Embrace the process and remain consistent. Your journey continues beyond this point. Chapter 121: Self-Compassion. Self-compassion is the ability to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. Many people are harsh on themselves, especially after mistakes. Instead of criticism, imagine responding with understanding and patience. This shift reduces shame and builds resilience. A real-life example is someone who fails at a task but chooses to learn instead of self-blame. Self-compassion allows recovery without losing confidence. It encourages growth without fear. It softens your inner voice and creates emotional safety. Over time, this leads to stronger self-worth. Kindness toward yourself is not weakness, it is strength. Chapter 122: Mental Clarity. Mental clarity allows you to think, decide, and act without confusion. When your mind is cluttered, even simple decisions feel difficult. Creating clarity starts with slowing down and organizing your thoughts. Practices like writing, planning, and prioritizing help reduce mental noise. A clear mind leads to better choices. It also reduces stress and improves focus. In real life, people with clarity often act more confidently. They know what matters and what does not. Clarity creates direction. Direction builds confidence. Chapter 123. Focus and Attention. Focus is the ability to direct your attention intentionally. In a world full of distractions, this skill is powerful. Imagine working on one task without interruption. The quality of your work improves. Your confidence grows as you see better results. Focus requires discipline and practice. Reducing distractions is a key step. Over time, strong focus increases productivity. It also strengthens self-trust. Attention is your most valuable asset. Use it wisely. Chapter 124. Habit Formation. Habits shape your daily life more than motivation does. Small actions repeated consistently create long-term change. Imagine building a habit of reading, exercising, or reflecting. Over time, these habits become automatic. This reduces the need for constant decision-making. A real-life example is someone who builds a morning routine and feels more organized. Good habits support your goals. They create stability and progress. Breaking bad habits is equally important. Replace them with positive alternatives. Habits define your outcomes. Chapter 125. Overcoming self-sabotage. Self-sabotage happens when your actions go against your goals. It often comes from fear, doubt, or limiting beliefs. Imagine delaying success because you feel unworthy. Recognizing this pattern is the first step. Replace negative thoughts with constructive ones. Take small, consistent actions instead of avoiding them. A real-life scenario is someone who procrastinates due to fear of failure. By addressing the fear, they move forward. Awareness breaks the cycle. Action reinforces change. You are not your patterns, you can change them. Chapter 126. Confidence in Uncertainty. Life rarely provides perfect conditions. Confidence in uncertainty means acting without full clarity. Imagine making decisions even when outcomes are unknown. This builds courage and adaptability. In real life, opportunities often come with risk. Waiting for certainty can lead to missed chances. Confidence grows when you move forward anyway. Trust your ability to adjust. Learn from each experience. Uncertainty becomes less intimidating over time. Growth exists beyond comfort. Chapter 127. Managing Expectations. Expectations influence how you experience outcomes. Unrealistic expectations often lead to disappointment. Setting balanced expectations creates stability. Imagine focusing on effort instead of perfection. This reduces pressure and increases consistency. In real life, people who manage expectations stay more motivated. They celebrate progress rather than chasing perfection. Adjust expectations as you learn. Stay flexible and realistic. This approach builds resilience. It keeps your confidence steady. Chapter 128. Self-validation. Self-validation means recognizing your own worth without needing external approval. Many people depend on others to feel good about themselves. This creates instability. Imagine acknowledging your own efforts and progress. This builds internal confidence. In real life, self-validated individuals are less affected by criticism. They trust their own judgment. Validation from within is more consistent. It creates emotional independence. Practice recognizing your achievements. Your approval matters most. Chapter 129. Emotional Balance. Emotional balance is the ability to stay steady despite changing feelings. Emotions are natural, but they do not have to control you. Imagine experiencing stress without becoming overwhelmed. This balance improves decision-making. In real life, balanced individuals respond rather than react. They maintain clarity under pressure. Practices like reflection and breathing help maintain balance. Over time, stability increases. Emotional balance strengthens resilience. It supports long-term confidence. Chapter 130. Purposeful Living. Purpose gives meaning to your actions. Without it, life can feel directionless. Imagine waking up with a reason to act. Even small purposes create momentum. In real life, people with purpose feel more fulfilled. Their actions align with their values. Purpose does not need to be grand. It only needs to matter to you. It evolves over time. Purpose creates motivation and clarity. It strengthens your identity. Living with purpose builds confidence. Chapter 131. Accountability. Accountability is taking responsibility for your actions. It means owning both successes and mistakes. Imagine admitting when you are wrong and learning from it. This builds integrity. In real life, accountable individuals grow faster. They focus on improvement instead of blame. Accountability creates trust with others. It also builds self-respect. Tracking your actions can improve accountability. Stay honest with yourself. Growth follows responsibility. Chapter 132. Decision consistency. Consistency in decisions builds reliability. When your choices align with your values, you feel more stable. Imagine making decisions based on clear principles. This reduces confusion and doubt. In real life, consistent decision makers appear confident. They trust their process. Consistency builds habits of clarity. It reduces emotional fluctuations. Over time, your identity strengthens. Stability leads to confidence. Chapter 133. Handling pressure. Pressure is a part of growth. Learning to handle it is essential. Imagine staying calm during challenging situations. This improves performance. In real life, people who manage pressure perform better. They prepare, practice, and stay focused. Pressure becomes manageable with experience. Breathing and preparation help reduce stress. Confidence grows with exposure. Pressure can sharpen your abilities. Learn to use it as fuel. Chapter 134. Building momentum. Momentum is created through consistent action. Small steps lead to larger progress. Imagine starting with one task and continuing forward. Each step makes the next easier. In real life, momentum builds motivation. It reduces resistance to action. Consistency is key. Avoid long breaks that disrupt flow. Momentum creates progress and confidence. It turns effort into results. Keep moving forward. Chapter 135. Personal growth systems. Systems are structures that support your goals. Instead of relying on motivation, create systems. Imagine having routines that guide your actions. This reduces decision fatigue. In real life, systems create consistency. They ensure progress even on difficult days. Examples include schedules, checklists, and routines. Systems make growth automatic. They support long-term success. Build systems that align with your goals. Structure creates stability. Chapter 136. Emotional recovery. Recovery is as important as effort. After stress or failure, take time to reset. Imagine allowing yourself to rest without guilt. This restores energy. In real life, recovery prevents burnout. It improves long-term performance. Activities like rest, reflection, and relaxation help. Recovery strengthens resilience. It prepares you for future challenges. Balance effort with recovery. Sustainable growth requires both. Chapter 137. Self-expression. Self-expression is the ability to communicate your thoughts and feelings. It can be through words, art, or actions. Imagine expressing yourself honestly. This builds authenticity. In real life, expression reduces internal tension. It creates clarity and connection. Suppressing expression can lead to frustration. Sharing your voice builds confidence. Your perspective matters. Expression strengthens identity. Be open and honest. Chapter 138. Personal alignment. Alignment means your actions match your values and goals. When you are aligned, life feels more stable. Imagine making choices that reflect who you truly are. This reduces inner conflict. In real life, alignment leads to satisfaction. Misalignment creates stress. Regular reflection helps maintain alignment. Adjust when necessary. Living in alignment builds confidence. It creates clarity and purpose. Chapter 139. Growth through challenges. Challenges are opportunities for growth. They test your abilities and mindset. Imagine facing difficulties with a learning perspective. This reduces fear. In real life, challenges build resilience. They reveal strengths you did not know you had. Avoiding challenges limits growth. Embrace them as part of the process. Each challenge builds experience. Experience builds confidence. Growth comes from effort. Chapter 140, Self-Mastery Practice. Self-mastery is continuous improvement. It requires discipline, awareness, and action. Imagine refining your habits daily. Small improvements lead to mastery over time. In real life, mastery builds confidence. It creates consistency and control. Practice self-discipline regularly. Reflect and adjust your actions. Mastery is not instant, it is built gradually. Stay committed to growth. Progress defines mastery. Chapter 141, Vision Clarity. A clear vision guides your actions. Without it, direction is lost. Imagine knowing exactly what you want to achieve. This creates focus. In real life, vision motivates action. It aligns your efforts with your goals. Write down your vision. Review it regularly. Adjust as you grow. Clarity strengthens commitment. A strong vision builds confidence. Chapter 142, Confidence Habits. Confidence is built through habits. Daily actions reinforce belief in yourself. Imagine practicing confidence through small behaviors. This includes posture, speech, and decisions. In real life, habits shape identity. Consistent behavior builds trust in yourself. Replace doubt with action. Build habits that support growth. Over time, confidence becomes natural. Habits create lasting change. Chapter 143, Handling Setbacks. Setbacks are part of progress. They do not define your future. Imagine learning from failure instead of fearing it. This builds resilience. In real life, successful people face setbacks often. They continue despite them. Analyze what went wrong and adjust. Each setback is a lesson. Growth comes from persistence. Confidence grows through recovery. Keep moving forward. Chapter 144, Inner Motivation. Inner motivation comes from within. It is driven by purpose and values. Imagine acting because you want to, not because you have to. This creates consistency. In real life, intrinsic motivation is more sustainable. It does not rely on external rewards. Connect your actions to meaning. This strengthens commitment. Motivation becomes stable. Inner drive builds confidence. Chapter 145, Life Direction. Direction gives structure to your life. Without it, progress feels random. Imagine having a clear path forward. This reduces confusion. In real life, direction improves decision-making. It aligns actions with goals. Reevaluate direction regularly, adjust when needed. Direction evolves with growth. Clarity strengthens confidence. Stay focused on your path. Chapter 146, Personal Fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from meaningful progress. It is not just about achievement but satisfaction. Imagine enjoying the process, not just the outcome. This creates lasting happiness. In real life, fulfillment builds self-worth. It reinforces positive habits. Focus on what matters to you. Avoid comparing with others. Meaning creates fulfillment. Fulfillment strengthens confidence. Chapter 147, Continuous Improvement. Improvement is ongoing. There is always room to grow. Imagine refining your skills daily. Small improvements lead to big results. In real life, consistent growth builds mastery. It increases confidence. Track your progress. Learn from experience. Stay committed to development. Improvement creates momentum. Growth becomes a habit. Chapter 148, Self-Confidence Mastery. Mastering confidence requires practice and patience. It is not instant. Imagine building confidence step by step. Each success reinforces belief. In real life, mastery comes from repetition. Confidence becomes natural over time. Stay consistent in your actions. Trust the process. Growth takes time. Confidence strengthens gradually. Keep building. Chapter 149, Living with Intention. Intentional living means making conscious choices. It replaces automatic behavior with awareness. Imagine planning your actions based on your goals. This creates clarity. In real life, intentional people achieve more. They focus on what matters. Avoid distractions that do not align. Stay purposeful in your actions. Intention builds direction. Direction builds confidence. Chapter 150, Your Next Chapter. This is not the end. It is a new beginning. Everything you have learned is meant to be applied. Imagine moving forward with clarity and confidence. Your journey continues beyond this point. Growth is ongoing. Each day is an opportunity to improve. Stay committed to your development. Reflect, act, and adjust. You are in control of your path. Your next chapter begins now.